Sarbonne Kings and Queens. Thank y'all for tuning in of another Reclaiming Your Royalty, my morning thoughts. And today my morning thoughts are going to be on the connection between lack of education and poverty and violence. So, now before I get to going, I want to make it honest and put it flat out there that I'm not one of these people who went to high school, went straight to college, got my degrees, and I'm thumbing my nose up at everybody else who did not go to college, because that is not true. I did not understand the importance of going to college until I was 27 years old, and did not receive a college degree until I was 31 years old. So I am not some individual who just always, did it this way, and I'm looking down on everybody else. That is not the case. I subscribe to all of the false teaching that was placed on us, and for years did not understand the importance of going to college. So now let's just dig into this thing. Well, why don't we go to college? Why don't we take education serious? Why don't we feel like college is a necessity? Well, we've been taught that college isn't for everybody, and when we've been taught college isn't, once we agreed to the fact that college isn't for everybody, it makes it easier not to go to college. So now, while that statement is true, college is not for everybody. But what happens when the people that college is for ascribe to the same saying as everybody else? Then we have the black people who should have went to college, who didn't go to college, because in our neighborhood, we're teaching each other that college isn't for everybody. And the fact of the matter is, college should be a standard. It should be a standard that everybody should want to achieve, unless they can achieve financial success some other way. So I'm going to tell you this. If you are not trying to start your own business, college is for you. College is only not for individuals who are able to start their own businesses and be successful in their own businesses. If you are not trying to start a business, then college is for you. College is a necessity for your life, because in the world that we live in, without a college degree, you can't make but so much money. Now, I know a lot of us pull up people like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, and like, these guys dropped out of school when they were billionaires. But we got one difference from them. That's the big difference. They're white. You're not going to be able to do what white people do. You're not going to be able to be president with a C high school and college average like George Bush. We're not going to be able to do what the white people did. But again, they started businesses. So now we have, and I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, so please do not take it this way. We have black people working at Walmart, other supermarkets. We have black people working at factory jobs, all these lower level jobs that still ascribe to, well, college ain't for me. Then what's for you? Is working a lower entry level job for you? Is the pinnacle of your life if you can get promoted to supervisor at the job that you work on and you can make $18 an hour? You see, there is so much more out there that we collectively as black people have not attained, simply because we have not reached out and got that education. And this is why we have a lack of black doctors, and a lack of black physicists, and a lack of black meteorologists, a lack of black scientists, a lack of black astronauts. All of these jobs, it takes a degree to attain. So there are so many fields where there is rarely any black people, because we decided college isn't for everybody. And we have kids who are smart in science, kids that are creating everything, kids that are making life easier by just putting some certain things together to make it work some way, somehow. They need to go to school for science. They need to go to school to do something, but no, we don't do that. We don't encourage them to go to school. We tell our kids, well, as long as you graduate high school, that's okay, because college isn't for everybody. That should not be what we're teaching, because what happens when we teach our kids that college isn't for everybody and we don't aspire to get higher education? What happens is we all get stuck in entry-level jobs, and we find ourselves like the people at McDonald's or the people at the airport trying to boycott, talking about raise the minimum wage. No. It's not that the minimum wage should be raised now. I do believe it should be raised, but this is a whole nother subject. But my point is, you shouldn't be fighting for minimum wage. You should be putting in the work. That way you can get the jobs that do pay more. It's not about making people pay us more for a seemingly meaningless job. And I'm not saying these jobs are meaningless because they're not, but to the CEOs, they are. So to the CEO, your job is meaningless and they can get anybody to do your job, or they can get a robot to come in and do your job. So instead of trying to get more money for what you're doing, do what the CEO did. The CEO is making millions because he or she went to school. They got higher education, and that raised their level of income. So when we find ourselves in these low income, low entry jobs, making somewhere between minimum wage and $12 an hour, it forces us into poverty. And just because we're in poverty don't stop us from having sex. And when we have sex, we have babies. And now we got to take care of babies on somewhere between minimum wage to $12 an hour. And now our children are growing up in poverty. And then we teach our children that they don't need to go to college. And then our children don't go to college. And then our children are making somewhere between minimum wage and $12 an hour. And then they grow up and then they have babies and they teach their babies that they don't have to go to college. And then they make somewhere between minimum wage to $12 an hour. And then there is an ongoing cycle of poverty in our black communities because we don't take education seriously. And when you have poverty, you always have violence because people are going to be trying to take something. People just don't have any self-respect. They don't have any pride. They don't have any hope. They don't have any accountability. And we dealt with that in my last segment. They don't have any of those things. So, of course, it's going to turn out violent. And see, this is exactly how the lack of education is connected to poverty and to violence, because the education, the way this system is set up in this world. Now, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that this is what it should be. I'm just telling you what it is, and we cannot get around it. The system is set up even now in 2015 where a bachelor's isn't good enough, where you need a master's in most jobs now. So now, is that fair? No. But can you get mad at the person that did go to school and get their master's and got the job before you and you couldn't get it? Or should you fight to make them bring the job down from a master's degree to a bachelor's degree? Or should you just do what's required of you? Black people, we got to stop blaming. We got to stop shifting the blame. We got to stop complaining. And we got to start doing the things that we need to do to succeed in this society. Now, we're also trying to rebuild Black Wall Street and put together black businesses so we can detach ourselves from these businesses that require such a high degree. But the fact of the matter is, even when we start to create things, we're not going to want somebody who just is talking about, I got an entrepreneurial spirit. I can run this business. No. Years ago, I started a business in 2006 with that same idea. I used to be a drug dealer, and I said, well, if I can sell drugs, I can sell anything. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I started a business and lost my life savings. When I started going to school, about 6 months into school, I realized if I would have learned some of this stuff, I probably could have got my business up and running and kept it running. But since I just thought that I don't need education, I'm a natural born entrepreneur. Nah. Now, it can work sometimes. It does work for some people. I'm telling you from experience. I lost every single dollar that I had in 2006 starting a business because I did not have the proper education to run my business. So as we are moving forward, black people, we have to be serious about our education. We have to be at our children's parent-teacher night. We have to be at our children's back-to-school nights, at our children's award ceremonies, all these things. We have to be teaching our children outside of school. We have to be looking over our children's homework. We have to give our children other books outside of what the school is giving them to read. Right now, I have my daughter reading Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. We have to have our children learning at all times. We have to stay learning at all times. Education is not just solely formal education, but also self-education. So there has to be an ever-learning experience in our life, because what you don't know, other people will always take advantage of. And if you don't know it, they're going to get over on you time and time again because you didn't educate yourself on a particular subject. And as long as they can get over on us, they can keep us in poverty. And as long as we're in poverty, violence is going to be sure to follow the poverty. So, black people, I encourage you, I challenge you to start taking education a little bit more serious. White kids and Asian kids are no smarter than black kids. The white kids and the Asian kids just take their education more serious. And the black kids in our communities, we begin to tease other black kids if they're smart. And then they begin to dumb down their smartness so they can fit in. But we need to raise a standard, black people. We need to raise a standard for education. That it is cool to be smart. It's necessary to be smart, and stop calling kids nerds and geeks and corny because they have a brain. Because that is what we should all ascribe to be. We should all ascribe to be smart, educated, and know something. Fact of the matter in this world is you are worthless if you don't know something. What kind of value can you add to anybody's life if you don't know nothing? And that's why we need to be educated in some facet or some industry on something. You need to know a lot about something. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know a lot about one thing, something that you're passionate about, something that you love, something that you like. Learn about it, get good at it, and then charge somebody for it. But as long as we are not focused on education, we're going to stay in poverty. And as long as we stay in poverty, the murders will continue. So if we want to stop the violence, if we want to stop the poverty, we have to get educated. Sal Bonnet, Kings and Queens, thank you.